Yes, ABW121. I had to plug everything back in, get the cameras situated, make sure the audio tracks are where they need to be, and all of that while I'm back here live at the Radio Ranch. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. And yes, I have my big boy pants on, even though not once during the remote broadcast from my home office did I wear pajama bottoms while I was on air. There were times where I wasn't wearing shoes, I'll admit that, but no, I got ready just as I typically did when I was at the home studio. But back at it, and of course, we thought we would be free of the state legislature this week. That is not the case, despite last month, state leadership saying that they would adjourn by the scheduled adjournment date. Here is just some of House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch a month ago at a Chamber of Commerce event where he was asked the question of, are you guys really going to get out of here on May 19th, as was scheduled for months and months and months? Here's Speaker Welch.
You've alluded to this a few times, but are we really going to get out May 19th this year?
May 19th is the goal, that's for sure. Last year we got out early April 9th, and no one thought we would get out of here April 8th, April 9th, and we did. Now the adjournment date is scheduled for May 19th, and certainly that's our goal. But I think what's the most important thing is to pass a budget that does two things. It is fiscally responsible and is compassionate at the same time. If we can get a budget on the board May 19th that's fiscally responsible and compassionate, we'll be out of here May 19th. Does that answer your question?
So again, that's Speaker Welch speaking with the Chamber of Commerce, and you then had Senate President Don Harmon lay out his thoughts about are they actually going to get out of here in that time frame that was laid out by the state legislature and the Democratic majority. Here is the Senate President Don Harmon.
Always more definitive.
Well, let's go back over here and check this out. Yeah, okay.
I asked the Speaker this earlier. I'd be remiss if I did not ask you. We are scheduled to adjourn May 19th. What's the chances we're really out of here that day?
We're out of here on May 19th.
Always more definitive.
So, they didn't actually make that happen. They weren't out of here on May 19th as they had scheduled months and months and months ago. And that's a point that one of the House Republicans raised whenever they were on the House floor late Friday. This is Stephen Reich, and he lays out how, indeed, Democrats knew adjournment date was coming up May 19th. That was Friday. Here we are, the 22nd. We still don't have a budget in hand. Here's Stephen Reich laying out his complaints about where we're at in this process.
In February, the governor gave his budget address. Today is May 19th. We should be talking about that budget. But what are we talking about? We're doing concurrences in committees when instead of those things coming straight here. We're doing busy work. We have committees this afternoon. We have a visitor come and talk to us on May 19th, the day that we're supposed to adjourn. What the hell is going on in this room? You know, if the state of Illinois was a $50 billion publicly traded company, the SEC would be in here like you wouldn't believe, and the management of this company would be going to jail. I can't believe that we're sitting here on the day we're supposed to adjourn. We don't have a budget. We don't even have a breath of a budget. Back in the Rauner years, it was asked, where's your budget? Oh, maybe the dog ate the budget. I don't even think we have a budget that a dog on that side of the aisle could eat, because I don't think you're that close. I have never seen such rank incompetence in an administration as I have seen in the last 4 weeks. A $50 billion state that can't even put together a budget on its own timeline. I can't understand why it is that we have the management that we have. We need new management in this state. Everything about this thing just is absolutely disgusts me. It's May 19th. It was your date for us to adjourn. We're going to be back here next week. We'll probably be here until 3 o'clock on some morning just in order to pass a budget, because that's the tradition. The tradition is dropping it at 3 in the morning so nobody sees what we do under the cover of darkness. I'm ashamed of every single solitary one of us over here. I'm ashamed of our inability to be able to move this process along, and I'm doubly ashamed of those of you on that side of the aisle who thinks this is funny.
So again, that's Stephen Reich. He is a Republican from Woodstock, and he, of course, lambasting the Democrats for not having a budget together. And several times last week, you had another Republican, Jeff Kiker, on the House floor here in Illinois, ask where's the revenue estimates and where's a draft budget that taxpayers can review before you guys actually go and pass this thing in the dead of night, which could happen, late Friday. Who knows? Because the House is coming back Wednesday. The Senate's coming back Wednesday. Both are back in on Thursday, and I think the House carries on into Friday to take care of business. But here's Jeff Kiker laying out his concerns as to where we're at in this budgeting process and how he's just frustrated as why we don't have these revenue estimates.
Inquiry of the chair, Mr. Speaker.
It's your inquiry.
Last night, I asked the status of the revenue estimate and a draft copy of the budget. I was hopeful when we saw the speaker enter into the room that maybe he brought that with him. So I'm curious if we have that revenue estimate available or a draft budget, or when we should expect to see one, please.
You're asking me?
You're in the chair.
Get back to you.
Funny story. After I made my inquiry last night, I had 8 members of the other side of the aisle suggest to me that they hadn't seen one either. So to the previous speaker's commentary, I think as a part of good government, we have to see this sooner rather than later. So just curious on the status, if you could please share that with us.
We don't know. We don't know. And that's something that other Republicans, House Minority Leader Tony McCombie and Jacksonville Republican State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer, they took to a news conference sometime in the lull of when the House was still going strong on Friday without a budget in hand. Without fully telling taxpayers how their money's going to be spent in the coming fiscal year that begins July 1st here in the state of Illinois. Here is Tony McCombie laying out her criticism of the Democrats in their continued delay in getting the budget together.
Would be adjourning today, an adjournment date not set by our caucus. Illinois Democrats have the largest majority in history and yet cannot abide by their own set schedules. This failed effort was despite our own efforts with offers to help, to be part of the process and bring true solutions for Illinois families. We have made continuous efforts to be at the table, and with additional days yet to be determined in the schedule, we will continue to make ourselves and our team available. There is much to accomplish and too much on the line to disregard our caucus from the budget process. The truth is, Republicans and Democrats have shared priorities and past promises yet to be kept. To mention a few, the Invest in Kids Scholarship, extension of the R&D tax credit, phasing out the franchise tax, and making essential changes to the Illinois estate tax code. All shared priorities should be a part of budget discussions, and that could be incorporated into the budget. The Illinois Republican Caucus represents parts of all 102 counties, and we are here to work. As I stated at the inauguration, we have an opportunity with leadership changes to reimagine what we expect from our state government. It is time for courageous leadership. I ask Speaker Welch to not be afraid to use our knowledge and benefit from our talents. We are problem solvers. We want to govern. So I say it again, don't disregard our value.
And then State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer sharing his thoughts.
We have to work on issues like Medicaid, ethics. We have to look at the projections that have been coming out on revenue estimates. But once again, we're at a point where we are no longer having an open discussion on major issues. We don't have an open discussion on any of those issues that I've talked about before. We haven't had an open discussion about the budget. The people of the state of Illinois have not had an opportunity to be at the table. This budget shouldn't be crafted in a backroom deal by Democrat leadership. It should be on all of us to be at the table. We've seen that play out way too many times, the behind the door deals. You all remember when Representative Lisa Hernandez passed their gerrymandered maps that pushed the parties further right and further left. That came from a backroom deal with all the Democrats walking through, and we said enough is enough, and we did not participate. You also remember when then Representative Chris Welch chaired the Special Investigating Committee and said that Democrats were more in favor of an internal solution. That was dealing with then Speaker Michael Madigan's corruption. And we're seeing that played out in federal courts. Government by the dark of night cannot continue to happen in the Illinois General Assembly. We have to bring it out into the public. We have to make sure the public understands where their dollars are being spent, how they're being spent, and what our priorities are here in the state of Illinois.
So again, that's State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer laying out his criticism of still no budget, despite back in January, the Democratic leadership spelling out, we're going to adjourn May 19th, and even Senate President Don Harmon being very definitive last month in front of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce saying that they will be out on May 19th. Well, they left May 19th, but they got to come back, and it's scheduled back Wednesday, Thursday, and the House is back on Friday as well, those 3 days, while the Senate's in Wednesday and Thursday. It's expected the Senate's the one that's going to produce the budget. They got to get a bill that they can read 3 times and then get it to the other chamber and so on. So they're going to come back, and obviously there's going to be a lot of other legislation that they advance. We'll unpack some of the other bills that they had, including one that deals with where you can file lawsuits against the state. Fascinating bill that passed the Senate. We'll hear the arguments for and against that idea a little bit later on. But coming up next, we got plenty more to get to here at Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. It's